a magpie. I'm sorry it's wobbly, I've zoomed in. Not that you can see it much better. I just love the noise they make. You find me here today making marmalade. This is something that I've done for many years, and primarily on an electric induction hob. That's the first equipment I used, and I've also used a gas oven before. But since now my only source of cooking realistically is my wood burning range, I found that my techniques and methodology that I had used on the electric induction hob and the gas ring just didn't work. So I've modified my recipe to suit my equipment, and I thought I'd share it with you in case you were in my boat and it might be helpful to you. So let me talk you through what I've done to get to this stage. For me, at least, marmalade making is a 2-day process. So what I started off doing was collecting my lemons from my garden, or obviously you can just buy lemons. I make lemon marmalade because Seville oranges are really hard to get in Australia, and I find that if I use a normal eating orange, the marmalade is way too sweet. So I prefer using the sourer citrus fruits, so lemons in this instance, but I've also made marmalade out of grapefruits. I've added limes, kaffir limes. So those more sour citrus fruits are better, I find, over here, unless I'm able to source Seville oranges. So anyway, that's why I use lemons. I then bring the lemons into the house and weigh them. I'm looking for 1 kilo of lemons. In this instance, that's 3 because my lemons are gigantic. I then cut them in half and juice them and set the juice aside. I then cut the halves in half again, so essentially I've got quarters, which I then cut into chunky pieces. I've experimented with thicknesses and chunky is best. I then put all of the lemon skins into a bowl along with the lemon juice. I then top the liquids up until I've got 700 ml in total. So that's including the juice and any additional water I have to add, and that's a huge difference from how I used to make marmalade, which required a lot more water. But I find that there's something about this heat which is so slow. I'd literally be here for hours, so I've really cut back on the amount of liquid. That's my top tip number 1. I then put the seeds and the chunkier bits of skin that sat in the top of my juicer into a muslin cloth, which I then put into the bowl. I covered the bowl with cling film and a tea towel, and I leave it to sit at least overnight, but for not really any longer than 24 hours is necessary. Then we come to day 2, and this is where the cooking process begins. And what we need to do is to soften the skins of the lemons before we start making marmalade, otherwise they'll just be rock hard and falling. So what I do is I transfer them into a really large pot, which I cover, bring to the boil on my range, and then move to a cooler part of my range where I cook with the lid on for an hour. After the hour has elapsed, I then remove the lid and cook it for a further hour with the lid off. In the meantime, I select my jars. I never quite know how many jars I'm going to get, so I err on the side of caution and pick maybe 4 or 5 or 6, which I then put in my sink and sterilise. This is stage 1 of the sterilisation process. I actually double sterilise. Once the second hour with the lid off has elapsed, I then weigh out my sugars into my maslin pan. This is what I would actually be cooking the marmalade in. I add a bag of demerara sugar and I top up the rest with white sugar till I've got 1,700 grams of sugar. I then transfer my maslin pan to my range, to the hottest part of the range, and then I add the cooked lemons with the bag of pips removed. I like adding the demerara sugar. I think it provides a nice extra amount of richness and darkness. What I'm going to end up with isn't one of those crystal clear, sprightly, fizzy looking marmalades. It's going to be deep and dark. I haven't worked out a way of having it not look like that, cooking it on the range. I then stir it till the sugar dissolves, and this is really the second modification that I've discovered I've had to make. I keep stirring. I found that if I stop stirring and let it cook, it invariably always sticks to the bottom of the pan and burns. Now, this is a good quality pan, but there's just something about this type of heat. Now, I could move this pan to a cooler part of the range. You might be thinking that, but I have tried that and literally it just won't cook if I do that. So I've discovered that if I keep it on the hottest part of the range and just keep stirring and stirring, it actually cooks and it won't burn. I've also discovered that it doesn't make the marmalade crystallise either. Many recipes will say this sort of part of the process will probably take you about 20 minutes. That isn't the case. I could easily be here for an hour stirring this. So that's another thing perhaps to be prepared for. And that's one of the reasons why I reduce the amount of liquid so dramatically. I think a lot of recipes recommend 2 litres, but really what you're looking for is getting the ratio of sugar to water down. And so I realised that if I put in less liquids, that'll happen faster. So it's still going to be a long time, but nothing like as long as if I had put in 2 litres. So I'm just going to keep stirring and stirring. When I can tell that it's starting to get to the stage that I'm looking for, I'll then add my sugar thermometer. I prefer the accuracy of using a sugar thermometer than any other technique for testing the set. So I'll show you that when we get to it. There we go, I think we're just about there. You probably won't be able to see, but the temperature I'm looking for is 104 degrees centigrade. That's a temperature I call jam hot. And we're just about there, so I'm going to now take this off the heat. I'll put it on my pot stand. And it's important now to leave this to cool. I won't do anything to it. I'll just let it stand for 15 minutes. While I'm waiting for the marmalade to cool, I put my jars into the oven for sterilisation. Sterilisation stage 2. That's my jars out of the oven and they've cooled down a bit. You don't want them piping hot. I've got my jam funnel for being able to pour the jam in nice and cleanly, or marmalade in this case. And here's my marmalade. Looking lovely. I'm going to pour it into the jars now, and I can't do that one-handed, so I'll come back to you once I've done that. There we are, 4 jars of marmalade. It's looking quite good actually, it's got a really nice colour, it's not as dark as it sometimes can go. The range can be highly variable, and it's the same when it comes to baking cakes inside the oven too. Nevertheless, I'm pretty happy with those. I'm in Will's car again for a very different reason than usual. Today I am officially becoming an Australian citizen. I have to undergo a citizenship ceremony first. I thought you'd like to come. We've arrived and we're just making our way there. We'll be in or near this building. I'm here, trying not to film other people and avoid the copyright music. This is what I have to say.
So candidates, please repeat this pledge line by line after me. From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Congratulations, thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, Carla.
Thank you. Well, that's all done now and we're heading home, so I am officially an Australian citizen, which means I get to live out my dream of having 2 passports and pretending I'm a spy. I'll show you the goodies that I got when we get home. So just quickly, if you can hear me over the rain, these are my goodies. This is the programme. Got this Australian Citizenship dollar coin, my certificate, the pledge that I took, and excitingly I got given this grevillea plant which I will add to my grevillea garden, which I haven't showed you yet, but maybe when I plant this out I'll take you with me. I'm wearing my net today. There's about 3-4 weeks of the year where the flies just go appalling, and I can put up with a lot, but flies crawling over your face and trying to get into your mouth and trying to get into your eyes is not one of them. So I think I'll maybe do a section in a video in the future about my choice of headgear. I've built up quite a good selection over the years. I like wearing this, it makes me feel like a character from an E.M. Forster novel. But it's not the sort of thing I've needed until I moved here. I don't know if you'll be able to make them out. There's all these little white butterflies fluttering about. It's lovely. I know this is a bit weird because all you can see is black, but I hope you can hear that. This is the sound of evenings, and I had assumed that this would be the sound of summer evenings, but this is the sound of evenings all the time, all year round. There's always some sort of insect or frog going mad. You sort of stop hearing it after a while. There's one of those noises, it's like a fridge humming in the background. You have to sort of tune your mind in to be able to hear it, otherwise you stop noticing it. Or the animal just like literally stops. Curse you, animal.